Hi, welcome back to our episode 2 on this series on Agile anti patterns and AI. In this episode, we will explore what are the different leadership traits that are practiced by Agile leaders and how we can use artificial intelligence to derive meaningful suggestions to overcome them. I am your host Anshu Gupta, and with me is Vinod Krishnan. Welcome, Vinod.
Thank you, Anshu. Hi, all.
So, with this, we start our first anti pattern that is micromanagement servant leadership. When a leader starts excessively controlling the team activities, he starts dictating tasks, overriding team decisions, or starts demanding for a constant updates which are beyond your agile ceremonies. She start exerting controls over minor team activities like how tasks can be done, who is going to do them, by when it will be done, and try to make detailed decisions for teams instead of letting team to make the decisions, requiring excessive reporting that we say that leadership uh, pattern that leader is showing is a micromanagement servant leadership. This actually undermines the ability of a team to self organize. It takes the team's autonomy out of the and it hinders them to innovate by themselves. Leaders generally adopt this behavioral trait either because of lack of trust or maybe a need of control, or it can be possible that they lack understanding of agile principles. They misunderstood what the agile says. Sometimes leaders also want themselves to be involved in the day-to-day activities of the team. And they want everything to be perfect that is happening within the same team. And that also leads them to adopt this leadership behavior. We can easily identify if leaders are practicing this anti pattern by closely observing how the team is operating on a day to day basis. For example, if we observe that leaders are asking for a detailed daily or weekly reports that are beyond your standard agile ceremonies, or team feels accountable to the leader for how they work rather than to each other and the product owner for the outcome. Leaders start dominating team stand-ups or retros with the directives rather than they listen to what the team is saying. And if you see that daily stand-ups instead of a team sync become regular interrogation sessions. Leadership frequently start dictating tasks, assigning tasks by themselves instead of team to assign the task to themselves. Start interfering on the team's daily planning and day-to-day activities. Then we see that leaders are practicing this micromanagement servant leadership behavioral trait as one of the leadership pattern. Then, for example, if in one of the projects I observed that leadership decided uh, to empower team, and the team was doing all the retros on time, and they were very good in doing the retros. They were even able to identify a lot of continuous improvement activities. Now essentially, if you have an idea from the retro what needs to be improved, you will go ahead and try to implement that. For example, how frequently you will refine your backlogs, or how uh, good the refinement will happen, or any other improvement activity that they identify. But here in this case, what is happening was that a team cannot start implementing as soon as they identify the idea. They need to go back to their manager. They need to present what idea they have, what are the pros and cons of that idea, how, and they need to share all the intricacies and the details of the idea to them. For example, how much effort it will take, by when it will be completed, what is the priority of the implementing this idea, etc. And once the manager approves the idea, then only they can implement it. So here we say that the leader is practicing micromanagement servant leadership as one of the leadership style to control the team. However, with the onset of AI, it has become easy to identify the leadership pattern that a leader is following. And AI can also generate certain recommendations on identifying the pattern that a leader is uh, following on how he can change his behavior, how he can change his leadership style. For example, AI can now analyze the communication patterns, the communication that is happening between the leader and the team or within the team by integrating AI with either the collaboration tools like Slack, Team, or integrating with your email tools like Outlook, etc. NLP can be used to analyze your meeting transcripts or the chat transcripts to identify certain frequent interruptions like you must or some other words which says that directions are coming from the leadership in the meetings or in the chats that are being analyzed. AI can also be integrated with the project management tools like Jira, which clearly identifies that the tasks that are being assigned to the team are by the team themselves they are assigning the tasks, or is it coming from the leaders, managers, they are assigning the tasks. So this is one way to identify. So with this, uh, now there are cases where it's necessary for leaders to start micromanaging, maybe in cases of crisis or the critical situations. So AI will not be just identifying the leadership behavioral that is being followed, but it will also identify a pattern that manager is doing this just for a once or twice, so it is a continuous way of managing. Because AI will be able to identify uh, certain conditions by which it is just a once or twice or it's a series of the behavioral pattern that is being implemented. And with this, AI will be able to generate some data meaningful insights on the pattern that is being followed as well as the how to overcome these pattern and move to a collaborative pattern. So, Vinod, would you like to add anything?
Yep. Yeah. In nutshell, what I think that there are a couple of points I remember. It's these kind of leaders actually assigns and reviews all individual tasks and not just goals. And in this kind of leadership, the status daily stand ups feel like kind of status updates for the leader, but not for the team collaboration. So with that, I have one more anti-pattern. It's called as metrics overload. Now, when metrics overload occurs, like when team focus tracking too many KPIs, uh, often kind of vanity metrics. So that drive to monitor everything. For example, velocity, story points, cycle time, PR counts, leads to kind of gaming metrics and lose all the all kind of uh, outcomes, customer impact, or even continuous improvement. So, a couple of symptoms, if you can notice if there is an anti-pattern in like metrics overload in your team. One is obsession with throughput numbers instead of kind of value delivered, and then teams splitting up stories unnaturally just to inflate the velocity. Then we then it's kind of like what is it? We hit our sprint velocity. It becomes a badge of success. Everyone is looking for just to hit the sprint velocity. And managers and leaders, they ignore the customer feedback or any outcomes, and all the internal metrics overshadow the real value. One example is in one enterprise IT department, the velocity exercise became the norm, and teams broke stories into subtasks just to boost. I think I got disconnected there. So let me continue this. So managers, yeah, what I was saying that like kind of that real time example where teams just broke stories into subtasks and just to boost point count, while end user satisfaction has been stagnated, and all the retrospectives were overloaded with just metric reviews rather than customer centric discussions. And over time, what happens? Management pressurizes the developers only to improve metrics, reinforcing kind of hollow success. Now, we can use AI tools to detect this kind of anti patterns. One is like you use all the dev data analytics. So, for example, commit story, ticket data, track the velocity trends versus the PR count, and or maybe you can track the cycle time and flag all the unnatural patterns like constant backlog resets. PR and code review tracking. You can highlight PRs that are trivial but kind of numerous in number. Then third one is a sprint report NLP. You can analyze all the retrospective summaries and check for a high frequency of metric discussions instead of outcome based reflections. Anything you want to add here, Anshu?
Yeah, so that was some of the great points you have highlighted on matrix overload. So essentially, we say that measuring everything is like measuring nothing. So before we actually start measuring, we need to understand what we are going to measure, what are the matrices that we are measuring, and what the outcome or what the matrix will tell you about what are the insights that is going to be generated by that matrix. Now, we also need to understand that what is the impact of that matrix on the team and how the team gets influenced by that matrix. We say that metrics are great, but they are great only if they are based on your meaningful data and presented in a meaningful way. In a nutshell, we say that measure what matters and not everything that looks to be can be measured. So with this, we come to our third leadership pattern behavior that we commonly observe, and we call as a leadership anti-pattern, that is command and control leadership. So in many organizations, what happens is they have adopted agile, but still the leaders try to retain their traditional hierarchical authority structure, and they still maintain that top-down management style, the old managerial style. So they still try to impose plans and detailed directives upon team. This actually creates a rigid environment where teams are expected only to execute what the leadership is saying instead of giving them power or empowering them to innovate and adapt. This leads to reduced flexibility of the team and completely disempowers them. Sometimes teams also fail to reap the full benefits of Agile. Now, this leadership behavior actually contradicts with what the Agile core principles are, which that is your self-organization, empowerment, collaboration, iterative learning, etc. In a nutshell, we again say that we are agile from outside, but inside we are still that old traditional hierarchical organization. So, agile transformation has to happen from the leaders and then it bottom down to the team. In the beginning, we mentioned about the micromanagement servant leadership pattern, where leaders try to micromanage team level tasks. While in this command and control, the leaders not try are not trying to manage the team level tasks, but they are trying to control the strategic direction, like resource allocation, organizational processes, through top-down mandates, content defining the rigid team structures, and preventing this true agile transformation and organizational adaptability. This is the basic difference between the two leadership patterns, management servant leadership and your command and control servant leadership. We can easily identify if leaders are following command and control style of management by noticing if teams are being judged based on the output metrics, not the outcome based metrics. Uh, for example, the focus is on velocity instead of the value that has been delivered, the meaningful value. Processes and practices are mandated across all the teams, regardless of the team context, in the sense that irrespective of how the team is working or what type of work they are doing, a process is mandated to be followed across all the teams, a standard process across the organization. Cross team collaboration is generally controlled by leaders. For example, I need to connect with a team that is outside, say, my art or my department. So that communication has to happen only through leadership. The two leaders of both the departments will talk instead of the teams trying to collaborate by themselves. And individual performance reviews are focused on how the teams adhere or how the one adhere to the plans rather than the team's outcome uh, adaptability. One example situation that comes to my mind is that leaders decide on what the estimation technique has to be used and they try to make it mandatory for all the teams to follow it. Now, when a team approaches a leader and suggests that we are using a different estimation technique and how it is working fine for them, and if we adopt this new technique, what can be the possible problems that can arise, and want to still go with their old tested technique. But the leadership rejects their proposal and mandates them that it is a standard across the organization. They have to follow this particular estimation technique which has been suggested by the leaders themselves. This is one classic example of leadership behavior practiced by leaders as a command and control. One another scenario that comes to my mind is, which actually I have observed too, is uh, leaders decide that in this PI we have to adopt a swarming technique across all the teams. And without understanding the type of work team is doing, they simply made it a mandatory for the team to adopt it. Now, I saw one of the production support teams who were also following Agile, and for them also this was made mandatory, where swarming doesn't make much sense in the IT support teams. So, uh, this is one another classic example of leadership pattern as command and control. Now, by using AI, it has become easy to identify the existence of this leadership trait within the team. AI can just not only identify this trait, but can also provide you certain recommendations that can be used and followed by leaders to overcome this leadership behavior. Sometimes leaders knowingly, unknowingly start following this leadership trait. So, with the help of AI, they can judiciously come out of this leadership behavior. AI can now question is how you can do it. So AI can be integrated with the email tools or the collaboration tools to monitor if the cross-team collaboration that is happening within the teams, is it controlled by the leaders or is it through organic collaboration between the teams? We can use NLP to analyze your meeting transcripts to understand the directives that are coming out within the discussions, whether the directive language is coming from the leaders. For example, you have to do this, this is the process, etc. Or there is existence of a team input, or there's team input is totally missing. All these things can be analyzed using NLP. So AI can not only help you in providing data on the rigidity of the planning and decision making processes, it can also help you analyze vast amount of data that was not possible to do through a manual processes. So AI can actually help give you a lot of good benefits to analyze these leadership behavior patterns and give you suggestions that how you can overcome these patterns. So AI can also act as a facilitator to improve the leadership trait. So Vinod, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, a couple of things like where we can use AI just to uh, have this meeting transcript analysis, just dictate the language like do this or you must or I said so. It's indicative of a top-down control. Then we can have an interaction mapping to identify lack of upward communication or brainstorming and observe that leaders, if the leaders are dominating all the meetings. Yeah, so yeah, that too, I think I just thought I have that in my mind. Thanks, Rishi.
Uh, Thanks, Vinod. So today we discussed around three leadership behaviors, but this is not just the end. There are a couple of other behavioral patterns also, like a lack of empathy for teams, ignoring psychological safety, etc., which leaders sometimes follow knowingly or unknowingly. So with this, we come to an end of this episode. And if you uh, like this episode, if you found it useful uh, and able to identify how you or your team are working, then do share it with others. And if you have recognized that something is happening within your team, something similar to what we discussed here, we would like to hear your stories too. So do share it in comments and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. In the next episode, we will be covering about the leadership, the patterns or the behavioral patterns which are practiced by Scrum Master. That is the anti-patterns by Scrum Masters. And till then, thank you for watching this episode. Stay healthy, stay agile.
Thank you.
Thank you.